That's right. We have a live and special guest here in office with us. We also talk about Sonar and the brains behind Sonar. And so we get to have the honor to chat with the brains behind Sonar. We have Daniel Pickett here, Chief Technology Officer, CTO here. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. There are a lot of brains behind Sonar, and mostly I've gone out and hired smarter people than me, which is why if you saw Sonar 4 years ago and saw Sonar today, it's a far cry from that very first version. But yeah, we want to talk about some of the exciting things that have come out in Sonar recently. We've got some interesting data sets, and we've got some interesting new features. So really the first one I want to talk about is at our big event, Future Supply Chain, we released the National Truckload Index. And then in the last few weeks, we've been getting a lot of questions from customers about the National Truckload Index versus contract, and when are we going to see that weak spot market drag contract prices down? So we kind of dusted off our data sets and said, okay, if we took the contract rates, which have a fuel surcharge on them, and they have that base rate, and then we took the spot market rates that we're seeing through the National Truckload Index, and try to come up with that base fuel rate level of that fuel surcharge they're getting. Could we describe the difference in the two? And I think if you look at this new tweak of the National Truckload Index that just came out, we're comparing the spot versus contract, assuming a fuel surcharge for contract, which recall spot market does not get. You can really see pretty clearly that end of 2020 through 2021 was really just a great time for those spot carriers. They were making a ton of money, but as you can see now, those spot rates have fallen, and adjusted for fuel, we're really getting back to those 2019 levels, which if anybody remembers, 2019 was a really tough year for carriers. So, just more interesting ways to kind of compare spot and contract, see what's happening with that freight shifting back and forth. Our data science team and our market expert team that we partner closely with have been hard at work figuring out how can we help people make sense of what's happening right now in that spot to contract shift. Next thing I want to talk about is an update we did to the market dashboard. Recall market dashboard is how we expose the new track spot rates out to the world. We added the NTI onto market dashboard so that you can kind of compare local trends to what's been happening nationally. And here's a great example of I think we're looking at I can't read it. Chattanooga to Jacksonville. Of course, I put Chattanooga to Jacksonville in because that's a haul I'm going to be personally making here in a couple weeks as beach season rolls around. And what you can see here is that the spot rates are a little bit higher than the contract rates for the Chattanooga to Jacksonville, about a 500-mile haul. That's pretty normal whether you're hauling a refrigerated, a dry van, or a minivan. The trip into Florida is always more pleasant than the trip out. So that's why we see that spot rate to go into Florida a little higher. But North Florida can still be a great place. There's a lot of good freight in southern Georgia. Let's go to a more normal lane that we're going to see, which is Chicago to Dallas. And here you can kind of see that, following the national trend, maybe even Chicago to Dallas slipping below that white line is your national truckload index. So with Chicago slipping below, that tells me there may be more pain ahead for spot rates. Chicago and LA are kind of two of our traditional bellwethers. They kind of tend to tell us where the nation is going. Since that's, Chicago's where everything comes off the rail. That's where the class ones meet. LA, of course, being the biggest port. So we like to look at those as a potential indicator of where the national trend might go next. So in addition to this great truckload data we just talked about, one of the huge releases at Future Supply Chain was our new Maritime product, which is, I don't think anybody has ever released publicly this level or quality of data in the container space. So China to U.S., other countries to U.S., China to Europe, all that data is right there. And so what you can see here is you can see volumes are down, you can see rates are down, and just look at that 1 year ago level when everybody was still maybe not spending as much on services. Concerts weren't happening, sports weren't happening, and we had all this stimulus money just pushing through a bolus of e-commerce traffic. You can see, based just on volumes and rates, if that's coming down. So in addition to volume and rates, we've got a number of great reject data samples as well. So if you go to the next one, we can see, in addition to rates, I think this is our volume index, right? And so look how much volume has come down from that 21 peak, and that is that is lockdowns in China, that is consumers are switching from spending on ordering goods to going out and spending on services. I'm going to the Braves game this weekend. Finally, I get to go to a Braves game again. So, that volume's coming down. That's switching to services. That's China going for that zero COVID policy that's really restricted our ability to manufacture goods. And then also, people aren't getting stimulus anymore. Refunds are coming in weak because of the advanced child tax credit that came out in the fall. So we're kind of seeing demand for freight hauling attacked on all fronts. And right now, what we're seeing coming out of China says there's not relief on the way. Rates have had a little bit of relief coming into this Memorial Day weekend. That's pretty normal. A lot of your carriers shut down for road check week, or they go and take a vacation on Memorial Day, so that constrains capacity a little bit. But coming out of China, we don't see volume picking back up yet, and so I'm not ready to say easier times are on the way in the carrier scene just yet. Well, let's keep going. Let's talk about the rejection data on Maritimes as well. And again, that's what you see here. Sorry, I can't read these charts from far away. Okay, so that is our rejection data. Again, back in 2021, when there was, the inability to get capacity, and you heard little retailers saying, the Walmarts and the Amazons of the world are crowding me out. There was a lot of rejection going on a year ago. Now, pretty muted. It's not terribly difficult to get a vessel if you want one. And so I think you've heard everybody on, who's talking about maritime talk about this. Capacity is being taken out. The big steamship lines are kind of like the big railroads. There's not many of them. When their prices start getting soft and their ships aren't getting full, they do blank sailings. They cancel these voyages. And I think if you show our next one, we'll show the total capacity of TEUs. Again, has declined. Not a huge decline, but when you take some of those ships off of the ocean, you're not getting quite as much moved at a time. That puts a lot of that upward pressure on prices and kind of protects those margins for those big steamship line carriers. And then the final chart I want to share is just the delays that we've seen. And this is in partnership with Project 44. They're one of the best companies in the visibility game. Our data team and their data team have gotten together recently and really started to come up with some neat ideas for how we can give more clarity to what's coming across the ocean, what's going to hit domestically, where is the physical goods economy going. So look for more exciting things from the Freight Waves and Project 44 data team collaboration. And if you're moving anything across the ocean, you should absolutely get with your Sonar account rep, go hit the form and get a demo of this maritime data. It is really, really powerful for anybody using containerized freight. After we released it, the first customer came and bought it 3 hours later. That's how important it is if you are using containerized freight, from Asia to the U.S.
Well, looking into this, how, especially getting the value out of it, have you gotten any feedback with the NTI as well from some customers regarding those rates? Absolutely.
That's been an item of great interest lately. We've had a ton of inbound requests for that. The NTI, I think, if you look at how it was built, we took what's out there in terms of rate assessments and said, what are the complaints around it? And so we really listened to our customers. We spent almost 2 years with the contributors putting data into this to make sure it's clean, make sure it's consistent, make sure we're all describing things in the right way, make sure we have the quality controls that you are seeing yesterday's data. That's it. You're seeing yesterday's data. The NTI 7-day moving average is a 1-week moving average, but you can look at the daily report and see what's jumping up and down on a daily basis. And it has just really, really been thoroughly cleaned and making sure that what you're seeing there is the dry van spot, broker to carrier buy rate that everybody wants to know. And it's not at the pickup date. It's not when it's paid. It's not when it's delivered. It is when that agreement is reached between the carrier and the broker, that cover date or book date. So you can really see where the market is in real time. And I think it's the only rate assessment out there where that is the data point you're getting, and that's what makes it really, really important. And it's resonated with everybody who's seen it.
You have been amazing on here. This has been essentially a masterclass in how to interpret the data. This has been awesome. We're going to need to have you on again with the next SONAR release to break this down. Yeah, thanks so much for being on here. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back with more Freight Waves Now.